Hi, I'm Genevieve DePriest, Location 3's Marketing and Events Coordinator. I'm speaking with Carol Lee, our Senior Director of Business Development. I asked Carol to do an interview a few months ago to share her expertise and advice as a franchise sales leader. The project grew organically from there. Carol, tell us more about the project and how you got started.
Well, thanks, Genevieve, for the introduction, but also for giving me the opportunity to help out on the newsletter. So I thought about what should we talk about today, and really everybody seems to be interested in the new normal. So I thought I would contact some franchise leaders in the space and to find out what their experience has been. So basically I had three responses: 2 home services and 1 wellness franchise system. I did talk to a chief marketing officer, a director of digital marketing, and also a multi-unit franchise owner. So I'm really excited to share the results of my interviews with them.
Carol, you spoke to these leaders about industry trends as our country moves into a new normal as a result of the global pandemic. What are they seeing?
Well, lots of different things. Dramatic change in doing business for some. Revenue is coming from different places than previously, whether it's a new market segment or it could be also maybe you have commercial business and residential. Some are seeing everything coming from residential and lower in commercial. So things are just really shifting around as far as revenue goes for some of these systems. Also, advice and coaching on various government programs. They seem to be very complicated, and kind of weaving through that is a new normal. Also, more structure for appointments and limiting the number in a facility. Also, virtual meetings instead of face-to-face. Everything is going virtual, whether it's training, Fran Dev Discovery Days, internal and also external client meetings. Also, PPE equipment safety is definitely a #1 priority: face masks, shoe coverings, hand sanitizers, etc. And one other thing is that some franchise systems are making mandatory calls with their clients before they even enter the home. And it has cut down the efficiency of 50%. So 50% of the time is cut in the home, which makes the client happy. So instead of 2 hours, it's 1 hour in the home. And also this is good for the business too.
So what personal changes did these leaders have to make, or what new things did they have to learn?
Well, 90% of travel has come to a halt for a couple of these folks. And also another franchise system had to develop all virtual training, taking all that live training materials and creating it all virtually, and actually use Learning Zen for franchisees, which has been very great for them. Also having to reinvent themselves and how they market, navigating through government assistance programs, and then also learning. Everybody had to learn best practices for safety regulations and making sure customers feel comfortable coming into the locations, but also for employees.
What advice was shared for moving forward?
Lots of advice here. Definitely got the most input here on the advice, but becoming a student of what's going on and how is that going to impact your career. Also, COVID-19 is definitely a significant game changer with positive and negative impacts in various areas. Also, what is the long-term impact of working remotely? Is so many folks, including ourselves at Location 3, are working, more remotely. Some offices are opening up, but still people are kind of staggering in and working remotely. Regarding office space, HR really has to rethink of hiring people. You really don't have to be in the local market anymore, and so that really opens up the space, and also opens up the space to race and being location blind and race blind. Also, how it's impacting the environment, not driving so much, what's going on. However, the flip side to that is the lack of social connection. And how do you preserve the culture? I totally identify with that because we are also, one of our top priorities at Location 3 is preserving our culture. So we're right there along with them. And then also, it's interesting to see the insight into people's personal lives, especially with virtual. You get to see their homes, their kids, the dogs. It really provides a human face to employees. And then another piece of advice is don't assume the worst is over. It can happen again anytime, as we're starting to see now. And then, of course, this fall, we'll see what happens then. It's also a good, humble reminder of the dark side of business. And we can't have a government bail us out all the time. So it's really important to have extra operating expenses in savings. And then another one that a lady said was her personal life turned into a priority. She was one of the ones that traveled 90% of the time. And so I really love the story. She adopted a rescue dog, started working out, started cooking home meals, and also traveled cross country and is now working remotely by a lake. So that's great.
Sounds like it can have a transformative effect in a positive way as well.
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely. So not everything is dark. There's a lot of positive things that have happened through the change.
Do you have any advice for moving forward?
Well, I can just share a little bit about my experience. I mean, I feel like in the last 4 months, I've really had to reinvent myself. I've had to become a professional on Zoom overnight. I used Zoom one time, I think, for a client meeting a long time ago, but we certainly didn't have a subscription to it. Now we do, but have to learn how to be professional and use it all the time. So that's a fast learning curve there. Also learning from others. I attended lots of webinars, and also there's so many amazing stories out there, and love to learn from other people. Had to be definitely flexible and balance work and home life, which is, I think, lots of people have had to do that. I take lots of walks during the day before I start work, at lunch, and then later on in the afternoon. And probably the biggest thing for me is having to re-engineer the conversation for my prospects. People do not want to hear a sales message at all right now. So I've had to be creative. Is what does the client or prospect really want to talk about? What's interesting for them? And then how can I have a conversation with something that's of interest, and then really put the sales piece of it behind.
Really interesting. Thank you for sharing that, Carol. Thank you for your time today. And
there's one more thing I wanted to share. I'm sorry. So I really wanted to give a shout out to the thought leaders who helped today with the interviews. So Been There, Done That, OsteoStrong, and Floor Coverings International. So thank you so much for your input. Really, really helped out a lot.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Carol. I really appreciate your time today.
Sure, my pleasure.